One of the frightened? A woman's face sometimes can be a terrible thing. There is beauty in a woman's face. Love can lie in the deep, vibrant eyes. The full, red mouth may hold tenderness and compassion. But a woman's face, which can be all things to all men, can also be the face of evil incarnate. Satan can hide behind the fair-skinned facade of a woman's beauty. Have you ever heard the weird and bizarre tale of Astravale, the loveliest woman that ever lived? No? Well, then listen. There's something here for all of us. Astravale was not always lovely. Indeed, in the little village of Innisfree, a green jewel set down in the breathtaking hills of Ireland, no child was born uglier. Her little face was gnarled and crooked, her lips overly thick. She was not a pretty baby at all. Her sainted mother crossed herself fearfully and made daily pilgrimages to the church behind the hill and prayed to God to set her child aright. For the first years of her life, no one ever set eyes upon Astravale. Her widowed mother was too ashamed to show her ugly offspring to her friends. One windy day, Astravale, aged 11, scampered into the heather in search of a lost ball. There she met the silent man who led her to a dark cave and invoked the powers of darkness over her. The child was awed, and when the dark stranger disappeared and Astra returned home, her mother almost collapsed at the sight of her, for a glow surrounded her child, and the gnarled, twisted face was a thing of the past. Astravale was now serenely beautiful. Great majesty glowed on the little face. Mother Vale crossed herself. Her prayers had been answered. And from that day forward, Astravale's beauty became almost legendary in the town of Innisfree. For miles around, she was the celebrated girl of that part of the country. The years flew by, and the vibrant, lush magnificence of Astravale's face kept pace with Innisfree's history. And one day, she was 18, and at least 15 men would have gladly swum the channel just for a look from her. But nature took its normal course, and Astravale lost her heart to Tom Riley. The wedding day was a big one, a roaring, noisy, happy occasion for everybody. And Tom Riley and Astravale tripped happily to the little cottage that Tom had built with his own hands in the valley. All Innisfree waited for the fine line of offspring their union would bring forth. But history, fatal history, repeats itself. One night, almost a year later, Astra bore Tom Riley a son, a frightening, terrible, hideous son, and her anguished screams filled the cottage. And when Tom and the midwife had quieted her down and taken the baby from the room, Astra fell into a troubled sleep. But she awoke soon to the sound of logs crackling in the fireplace, and the dark stranger was standing in the center of the room. Astra recognized him immediately from her childish memories of the windy afternoon long ago. And when she asked the stranger what he wanted, his mocking answer brought forth her worst fears and suspicions. "I gave you beauty," the stranger said. "Unforgettable beauty for the price of bringing Satan's children into the world. And you cannot break your bargain." With that, the stranger vanished in a cloud of sulfur and fire, and Astravale lay terrified in bed all through the night, pondering and torturing herself for a solution. And when dawn poked through the windows, she knew what she had to do. Carefully, she got out of bed, walked over to the mirror on the wall, and stared at herself. She saw the gleaming wonder and beauty that was the face of Astravale. Then, closing her eyes, she picked up her sewing shears and, steeling herself, drove the sharp points into her own face over and over again. They still talk about Astravale in the little town of Innisfree, because you see, In spite of her terrible accident, her face bears not the slightest scar, and she is as lovely as ever. Too bad that her child died that very morning, but she's still a young girl, and there's lots of time yet. Tell me, my dear, would you make such a bargain with the devil, just for a face that would drive men mad?